Hello and welcome to a special presentation by QTV. I'm Henry Balmer and this is Global Perspectives. Joining me today is Dr. Brian Nolan. He's a psychology professor at QU. Thank you for joining me.
Sure, well, happy to be here.
And where are you from and how has that shaped your global perspective?
Well, I kind of grew up in what you might call a Rust Belt. My father was in the auto industry. My grandfather was in worked for steel mills, and the other grandfather was a sheet metal worker. So it was all kind of a very blue collar kind of stuff, and immigrant families. But that immigration happened a couple generations ago. But I still feel that influence of the Polish and Irish immigrants that made their way over here a couple generations ago.
And then next off, where have you traveled and how's that affected you?
I've traveled to everywhere except 5 states, and I spent a summer in Japan and 2 semesters over in England. So I've been to, lived in London for a while, lived in small towns in the middle of nowhere. I did a summer in Alaska working there for a few months at a small little town doing, working at a fish processing plant. So I've been around several different kinds of places. And so I think that's something that I intentionally tried to do when I was younger, is not just visit as a tourist, but go there and live there. Go there and be, have a mailing address there. And when you're there as part of the community, you see it differently than you see it when you're just doing the touristy stuff. And so I think that really helped me to kind of, digest and take in some of those things. Like when I was over in Japan, I had a chance to kind of sit in as a student, in some of the classes, and kind of be there with the students, kind of see everything that's going on. Live with the host family, and really kind of absorb the culture by being in it. And so, yeah, I think all those things have kind of shaped how I think about the rest of the world.
When you were there, did you get to see any cultural differences than here or wherever you were at?
There's a number of things I could point out, but probably something that really stood out to me at the time is how much Japanese students really want to conform or want to wear the same clothing. I mean, they the same pencil cases, same backpacks, and they wanted to be the same because they wanted to fit in, and there was this real drive to be the same as everyone else. Whereas, I was more used to everybody wants to be an individual. I want to do my own thing, and that was kind of a different kind of feel to see the people that were there wanting that.
And then, what are some cultural experiences you've endeared here in Quincy?
I just remembering a moment prior to the first time I ever came to Quincy. I've been living in Tempe, Arizona. And so, down in the Phoenix area, it was a bit of almost a culture shock to come to Quincy from somewhere like that. It was quite a different feel. But once I got here, it became pretty familiar pretty quickly. So I lived in a lot of places like Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, and whatnot. So all of a sudden, it became a very familiar place for me to be.
And then, how would you say that the exposure to other cultures shape us as people?
Well, I think I'm going to have to paraphrase a little bit. Mark Twain said something along the lines of, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and closed-mindedness, or something similar to that. And I tend to agree with that sentiment, that when you see someone else as other, then they're foreign, they're mysterious, maybe can't trust them. But when you get to know them, and you visit, and you be, part of their community, or whatever, and now they're a friend. They're no longer foreign. They're no longer other. And you have that connection. So it just feels different once you know them personally.
Okay. And then, how would you say having a global perspective means to you?
I think it shapes how I think about a lot of things. Political views, all kinds of things, and what I think is important in the world. I'm not just looking at how are things in my little nook of the universe. I tend to think about things. Well, how does it affect people on the other side of the world? It's part of we're all in this together, as it were.
Mm-hmm. What cultural differences would you say that really stand out to you, difference from QU to other places you've been?
Well, you certainly have a kind of a smaller town kind of farm sort of feel to it, because we're not near a major city and whatnot. So I definitely feel the presence of that, and to me, it's a very different feel from being in a large city. Like New York City to me was too many people in too small a space. People on top of each other all the time, and here you feel like you have more elbow room, and so even somewhere like London, which is a little bit more spread out than New York City is, but still there's that concentration of people just creates a different kind of feel, different kind of vibe for everything. And so here is, like I said, you can kind of have a little more elbow room and kind of relax into it.
And then would you say there's any similarities between those two?
Well, certainly to the extent that they're still in the same country, you're still going to see certain types of similarities. But I think that to some extent, well, you're maybe missing certain things that it might only exist in a large city. But I think that most of the life is what you make it. So if you want things to be part of your life, you find a way to make it part of your life.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us for Global Perspectives. Find more interviews like this on QUmedia.net.